Let's talk about right now the Rays and Blue Jays. I told you I wanted to get to that. Love the fact that we have the second hour to do so, because otherwise we would have run out of time. You're aware that both the Rays and Blue Jays are 20-10 over their last 30 games. That's something that's fine. You're aware of the fact that they are 4 games back of the Yankees in the AL East. You can look at the standings and get that yourself. You're aware that they've got 2 wild card spots. Again, look at standings. A little early for playoff seeding, but we're good. What you are also aware of is that the Rays are 27th in payroll and that the Blue Jays are 5th in payroll. What I wanted to talk about is the difference between the Rays and the Blue Jays as it relates to this season specifically. This season for Tampa is like any other season. They're not building toward a new ballpark. They have no deal done anywhere. They're not building toward the reopening of Tropicana Field because they don't care and people aren't going to come. There is nothing spectacular about this particular season, either in the eyes of the owners or in the eyes of the fans. It's just another day where you're making the donuts, and the Tampa Bay Rays continue to show why their front office is so spectacular and best in class. But it's my friends north of the border that interest me more. While the Toronto Blue Jays are not building a new facility with their owner, Rogers, they spent hundreds of millions redoing it, and it is phenomenal, the new Sky Dome. They re-signed their most important free agent when they overpaid Vladimir Guerrero. I mean, when they signed and kept Vladimir Guerrero. Why is this season so important? Because the front office, both Shapiro, president, and Atkins, GM, they are trying to prove a concept to their corporate ownership that the window that was open for them is still open, and that they are able to take advantage of it, and that their whole plan of keeping this core and then adding at the margins with free agents, that has proof in concept and that it's working. And that the Toronto Blue Jays are not the north of the border 51st ugly stepchild where free agents pretend they want to play but they don't, and woe is me. They are trying to change the narrative for an organization that won a World Series back-to-back in 92 and 93, who has not had playoff success since, who have doubled down on a core of players thinking that this would be the championship core, but it's not proven to be that at all. This is a team that started off terribly this year, with Vladimir Guerrero still, by the way, in his 14-year, $500 million deal. He is underperforming in a way that is eye-opening. But all of it gets thrown out in the trash if the team can actually play in October. And I'm not telling you that Toronto is the best team in the worst league, which the AL is. I'm not telling you that they are or are not a playoff team. What I am telling you is, by the Blue Jays playing the way they've played for the last 30 games, they have guaranteed one thing. And you heard Ken Rosenthal and I talking about who's a buyer and who's a seller earlier on today's show. The Toronto Blue Jays have to be buyers. The Toronto Blue Jays have to add to their team. Other than pitching, bullpen, starting, another bat, one more player on the bench, I can't think of one thing that they need. The reason why they will fill at least 2 of those holes is that they have earned that right by their play, and you combine it with a desperate owner and a franchise that needs to prove its worth and its standing in Major League Baseball, you get a first-class buyer. Can you be successful with as bad a starting rotation as the Blue Jays have had? They're ranked toward the bottom in Major League Baseball. You can, if you can outslug and you've got a lights-out bullpen. But the reality is they're playing without getting the great starting pitching that they need. They're going to get Could they be a candidate for Sandy Alcantara from the Marlins? Will they be a candidate to overpay with some of their system in order to double down on their commitment to this core in this season? I would have said no originally, but given this last 30-game stretch, I've changed that to a straight yes. And while there is time until July 31st, I would expect the Blue Jays to act early and act decisively in order to add to a roster that is performing the way it is currently performing.